Hi, my name is Steven from Banshee Concealment Systems. This is my Imperial holster line. It's basically the standard and custom Kydex holsters. Today in this video, I'm going to show you how to make them. Let's get started. Alright guys, I just have a couple examples here of the Imperial holsters. Obviously one's in coyote, one's in black. Today for this video, we're going to focus on the Imperial line here in black. This right here is for Glock 22. As you can see, we'll work on, it has great definition, okay, as you can see here, front and back. The ejection port is blocked, so you don't get any snag anywhere on the gun. And we're going to show you how to get these really nice, I don't know if you can see them, these really nice polished edges here, okay, all the way around. Make it look like pretty much just one piece here, one piece of Kydex. Alright? Alright. And again, the definition here, and obviously the sight channel up here as well. I'll show you all how to do that. Let's get started on what tools we're going to need for this, alright? Alright guys, alright, what we're going to do here, these are all the tools you're going to need. Some of these are more important than others. I'll try to go through and basically tell you which ones are the most important, which ones you can kind of get away with. But like I said, if you want the definition, like something like this, you're going to need pretty much most of these tools. They make your life a whole lot easier, and you know, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do things easy. Okay, first of all, you're going to need obviously Kydex, depending on what thickness you want, the 06, 08, 125, whatever one you want to do. Today we're going to use the 6. It's really nice to work with. It's really strong. A lot of people have disputes about that, but I'm not going to get into that. Then obviously you're going to need something to cut it. Okay, good X-Acto knife is key to cutting this. Obviously, the more you're going to need a lot of blades. The Kydex will dull these pretty fast, so sharp blades are really nice. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is obviously you need something to write on the Kydex. Okay. Mark it or whatever. You can use blue pencils and stuff like that, but these you can still see them, and they still rub off pretty good. I usually use a blue one. Can't really find it today, but we'll keep moving on. This is very important. This is probably one of the most important things. This basically gives you the temperature of everything. Okay, because the temperature, I mean, if you've seen a lot of other videos, the temperatures on these things are not accurate. They're not at all. So basically you need to use this to get the exact temperature you want. And then we'll go over what the exact temperature is when we get to actually building it. You're going to need some little clamps, some hand clamps here, just to clamp the pieces together when you're going to work on them, like this. You can get little ones, you big ones. I'm going to have a list of all this in the description of where you can get most of this stuff and everything like that. Obviously some blue painter's tape, because we're going to paint off the gun. I'm going to show you to do that as well. Obviously some good working gloves to handle the hot Kydex. I mean, if you do it fast enough, you kind of don't need them, but I would highly recommend gloves. Eye protection as well. Some sort of mask to cover your face. I see a lot of people that make these holsters. They're not wearing stuff like masks over the face and stuff like that. This debris is really bad. If you can see any of this stuff, there's just Kydex shavings everywhere. Okay, when you get to grinding, when you get to doing the polishing and everything like that, you're going to need it. Alright, obviously you're going to need some rivets here. Like I said, I'll have the description of what size I use. It's just basic size. You don't want to go too small. You're going to need this is the hardware here. You're going to need some sort of Chicago screw, either with the flatheads. You can do it with a flathead or a coin or anything like that, or the Phillips. Obviously some washers here. Okay, so the tools, the Kydex holsters are relatively simple to make, but you do need the tools to make it. Let me put this back here for a sec. This is what you're going to need, obviously, a drill to drill the holes. This one right here has a countersink in it to basically clean up the holes. That's pretty much all I use this for. It's just cleaning up holes. Okay. You're going to need some sort of cutting mat with a grid on it. Helps a lot when you're lining up the edges here and getting and then especially when you need to do the holes. Some sort of ruler that matches with the grid. Okay, they're just 1-inch squares. Okay, just helps you when you're measuring the Kydex to be able to see through it and everything like that. The only downside of these is they tend to shift a little bit, so you just got to be careful when you cut these. It's down here. You're gonna need a heat gun. The heat gun's good for lots of things. It's good to get you're gonna heat up the bend here to get this bend, the body hugging curve, like they like to call it, in these holsters. It's good for adjusting retention, but you gotta be careful with that. You can get kind of sloppy results if you don't do that carefully. Okay, and then obviously the most important piece that you cannot do without is a toaster oven. You do not want to use a heat gun to heat Kydex. It gets it so unevenly. It heats it so unevenly. It does such a poorly job in that aspect. Like I said, it's good for tweaking things and fixing little things here and there, but actually to heat up the Kydex is it's a bad idea. Basically, a simple toaster oven. They're relatively cheap. There's a tray. The oven here. I always keep it on. It stays on. I don't use the timer at all. I'll turn that on to stay on, and I'll turn it on. We'll get into that when we get into making the holster. And then the second most important piece you're going to need, this one first, and the second one is you're going to need a press. Alright, you can build your own press, you can buy presses, all that good stuff. Like I said, the Kydex holsters in itself are not relatively too hard. You can make one that's it'll function the way it needs to function. It might not look the way you want it to look, but it will actually function the way you need it to. There's basically something that can hold some clamps in here. Sorry about that. Camera's gonna give me a little trouble here. Like I was saying, the press here, basically there's the hinge type. Basically, like, you can use those. I see lots of people, they get good results with it. Just, you can have shifting, and it's very bad. Basically, you just want like a solid book press like this, where it's just two separate pieces. Okay, you got the pieces here, and then you got the foam here. And you can get a lot of this stuff, like foam and a lot of the hardware and everything like that on knife kits. That's where a lot of people get their stuff from. I'll give a link to where you get this foam. This foam is way better than the stuff on knife kits. This stuff's way more dense than the knife kits foam. You get a lot more presses out of it, and a lot better definition out of these. But like I said, it's just pretty much just two pieces of this foam riding along the clamp system, and you're just going to put your product in there, put it down here, push these down, and clamp them down like this, and then you can let it sit. Okay, now we're going to put this down here. We'll move on with what you're going to need. That's the basics of getting everything done. Getting basically to raw pieces that you're going to need to put together. Okay. Now what you're going to need is to get these edges that are really, really nice like this. Okay, they're these glass edges. Basically makes the Kydex look like one piece. You're going to need a buffer wheel. Okay, you can sand it and sand it and sand it. It can work sometimes, but you're basically going to need something like this here. Okay, you don't have to get one this big or anything like this, but you're going to need the wheels, and like I said, I'll have all this stuff in the description. You're going to need a wheel like this, which is a little bit abrasive, and then the soft one that's just for, yeah, it's for this, like the extra tuning, if you want to say it like that. You can pretty much get everything done with just this one. I just like to run it through this one because I had it, and it makes it look really, it gives out that extra little shine in the Kydex. I built this thing around it. It's just pretty much just tape, cardboard. It's nothing fancy. It just pretty much stops it from getting all this stuff everywhere. It gets polished. It gets these little fibers everywhere if you do not do it. So you do it. Next thing you're going to need is a press. Okay. basically you can get these pressed from Harbor Freight. That's where a lot of people get them from. They're pretty cheap. And then you can get this little die piece here from Knife Kits, which is a 2-piece set. Okay, just put it here, and then it comes with this thing here. I've milled out this the bar here and stuck that up in there so that it will stay there. So you pretty much just put your work in there, put the thing there, and you grab the handle here and you smash it down and press it. So you can just keep going, going, and going. Okay, that's the only reason why that's there. You don't have to push that in there. You can do it by hand. It just takes a little bit longer. All right, moving on down here. We have the drill press. Okay, obviously this is what you're going to do to drill the holes for everything. This is just a little block I have here. It's a little dirty here. Worker's bench here. Okay, basically just will hold the piece so I can drill it. This is not really essential. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is just to make my life a lot simpler and to speed up the process. You're going to need some sort of cutting wheel as well. You can use Dremels. They work just fine. Some people say they don't. They work amazingly fine. They cut through it just fine. You can get the skill saws. I probably will eventually get one, but I don't have too much room for it right now. So this works perfectly fine right now, and you can switch this out to the sanding drum, everything like that, sand the edges and get everything down. Okay, you will then, this you don't need anything. This basically, and then last piece here, last major piece is a sander, belt sander. Okay, this helps you get the even edges. It just speeds up the process. I guess you could do all this a lot of it by hand, but take you hours. And then you do need some sort of really fine grit wheel here, because that can get it down. It can help. It helps merge the edges, and then right before you get ready to buff it, it's really nice. This little wheel here does a lot of work for you. Okay. And now what we're going to do is, the next second we're going to go through. We're going to show you how to. Here's this G19. We're going to go through how to set this up so that we get the clearance we need for the ejection port, clearance we need for the side radius here, and so that we don't get any binding in the holster itself, so we don't get any wear and tear, and then so we get that nice click, okay, where nothing's gonna fall out here. Okay, and we'll be back with that. All right, here we go. Now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna set up the gun, the mold. You can do it with real guns. Just make sure when you do it with the real gun, just make sure the gun is ready to go. Make sure the trigger's forward, because if it's not, you can cause problems with it. All right, so okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to tape off the slide. What I've noticed is if you don't tape off the slide part, the metal parts, it doesn't really scratch anything, but like holsters wear guns. That's just how it is. Repeated in and out, it's gonna wear on stuff. But you can minimize it a lot if you just put like a thin layer of tape over it. What you're gonna need is you're gonna need something like a dowel. You can go pick up dowels. They're really cheap. They're not even. You can get a ton of these on the cheap. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the dowel and you're gonna cut it down. Okay, it's obviously to the site. Now, a lot of people do this differently. Some people they don't care. They just get like a really long piece and they'll just stick it up and it'll sit on top of the site. It'll sit up there like that. And then they don't care, but then they get it doesn't really matter, but you all get like the aesthetics. You get the clean straight line instead of like a line that goes up like that. But so for me, I do it this way. So basically I cut out the size that I need. Okay, cover it, and then I just take I can do pretty much all this with the Dremel. That's why I love the Dremel. But then you take the Dremel thing and you notch out this front sight. For the front sight here, you notch this out. So basically what it will do is it will sit inside there. Like that. Pretty nice. Okay. Just kind of got a tight fit. Basically it will just stay there for what we need to do. So then you have that. Then what you're going to need is you're going to have to take a really thin piece of wood, plywood, anything. Anything that basically is not going to warp under pressure or heat too bad. Pretty much I just have a thin strip here. I made it really thin, thin as I can get it without, I don't want to break it, but, and then I'll this is just, it's all purely aesthetics. Like I sand this down so it makes it look nicer. And then basically for right-handers you don't need this long of one unless you're going to do a full shield on either side, which I've never seen, but I guess you could do it. But since I do left and right-handed guns, I have to have a longer one that goes off. So you basically just go like that, and then we'll all tape that on. So then pretty much in the mold you get the blockage you need and the side radius you need. So pretty much we're just going to go in here and we're going to tape this off here. So we're going to start by taping this on first. So what you're going to do is just get the size you need. We're going to try to do this pretty fast here. The video speeds up at all. Don't worry about it. I don't want to bore everybody with me trying to do this here. Basically, I just try to line up a piece of tape down the middle. This is the basic for pretty much most guns. Just make sure it's in the middle back here. And just tape it down. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is we're going to tape off the slide. I do the slide all the way first, and then I will put on the ejection port blocker. And pretty much all we're going to do is just line this up like that. I leave a little bit off of each edge so I can wrap it around. But like I said, this is going to build up the coat, the covering we have over it, so that we have the tolerance we need, so that we don't get the binding. Unless you want the binding, I don't know why you'd want it, but I guess you could always do it. Alright, now that you have the gun masked off here, the ejection port, you can feel where it is. It's right here, so we'll put it right here on the top. Each gun is different. Each model of gun is different, so you might have to... Sometimes you have to make different ones for different types of guns, but for the most part, it works pretty good for a lot of different types. Okay. And we have masked off the gun. And pretty much I just have all my molds like this already. I have some other molds here. They're already taped off. They're already ready to go. I don't mess with them pretty much. All right, and then now let's get out the Kydex and we'll cut some Kydex and get this